Hi friends, Dean here with Escape to Gaming. Kind of doing an early morning impromptu vlog on some things, just on what's going on lately, in the environment, with life, with the world right now. Things I've never seen things so quickly change in a global scale like they have, almost day by day. Just things are changing, there's new information. Just a week or so ago, it wasn't very long ago, it was like very few people took this whole thing with this virus seriously. Some people are even making YouTube videos saying it's all a hoax and bullshit. Actually, have you seen anyone out there that that even has this virus and it's manufactured and all this stuff? And since then, that person took the video down because they realized it wasn't popular. So I've seen it all. I've even seen a video just very recently from another troll that claiming that this is the ideal time to capitalize on going out and building your game collection, as people are going to be hitting upon hard times and are going to be forced to probably sell a lot of their possessions to survive, to feed their family or themselves in these uncertain times, with so many being unemployed, myself included. I'm unemployed right now, so I have no income coming in, so we're having to survive on one income. Fortunately, my wife makes decent money to where we can do it, but it's tough, and this last year has been very tough, so I know what it's like. I know what it's like to not have money for even basics or to go out to eat, and you've got money, but you got to save it, because you can't tap into it just in case save it for a rainy day like what we have now. So it's disgraceful. You get a lot of sociopaths that are so fixated on, drawing people to their little world, and they like to keep the little inner circle of drama, other parasitic people that feed off that, and so that's why they make these kind of videos. And you can see they have no concept for what's going on around them. They're amoral, they don't have any empathy for others, and it's sad. You'll see it all. But you'll equally see a lot of good people with good information, people that are doing good things for others. My daughter, I'm very worried right now. My wife is in another state. A couple days ago, they sent her home and her 11-person team home, which one of the people in her team is very ill. My wife had to go through all of his possessions, disinfect all of them, put them in a box, have security take them outside, have someone take them to his house so he can work from home, if he can even continue to work. Now, hopefully he doesn't have the virus. I don't know, but he was quite ill. So now she's down to 10 people. They're all working from home on provided laptops, and as many other people are right now having to work from home. It's a tough time. There's a lot of people, that are out. People work in restaurants, auto parts stores, you name it, car dealerships. A lot of people are hard hit right now. The economy is taking a blow like I haven't seen in some time. And this is just the beginning. So like I said, I've been through a lot of, disasters and economic disasters and floods and hurricanes and multiple earthquakes and the Los Angeles riots in the early 90s, which I touched upon, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more in depth today, as well as the LA earthquake, which were fairly two huge events, one man-made and one that was kind of a Mother Nature thing. But yet you could see the people, either how they completely fell apart and their front that they put up collapsed, and then the primal person inside came out. And that's when you see what people are made of. You see the goodness in people, or you'll see the subhuman element that will arise, the primal element that comes out of these people, and they endanger others because of their panic and fear. So I'm going to talk about this just for a little bit. I don't know how long this is going to go. I have a lot of ideas. I'm just going to talk. Is it game related? Probably not. But I have so many friends, if I can reach out, if I can help to save one person with just whatever little ounces of wisdom that I have, or maybe information that could steer. And I'm going to also have a link for a 40-minute video that I just saw. It's been up for I think 2 days now. But it's quite good. It's an interview with a doctor that is quite informed, very rational, and he's, to the best of his knowledge, and he's fairly well read in this whole subject of these kind of problems and pandemics and things. But he had some very sound advice. I'll leave a link to that video below, which it might be helpful to you. It's very, very good. A lot of good information there. My wife found it. She has a friend over in England, in the UK, and she just had a little put together a thing, which I heard yesterday, what we should be doing. And I'll share some of these things. If they can help, like I said, to save you or your family or your friends through this really difficult, scary time. We're in a lot of like uncharted territory. We don't know what this thing could do. It may be stomped out in 3 months. It could mutate into something that's horrendous. The reason why the SARS thing ended so quickly is it was actually so lethal and so deadly. It was killing people off before they even had a chance to spread it. So it kind of killed itself out like a fire, putting fire out with a fire, kind of thing. Where this is kind of more a slow burn, and it's spread. So far, it's things that it's through droplets and things that can be touched, whether it's airborne or not. I don't know that we fully know, but it's dangerous times. I went out again at 6 yesterday morning. I realized I haven't felt great since I came back from LA. And I said, if something happens, I may not be able to make it to the hospital. I may have to just tough it out here at home, and then wait till I'm really, really sick and then try to contact my physician and see if I can come in, or maybe they'll have me come in through the back door and they'll have hazmat suits on and type thing. I don't know how it works, but I realized I didn't even have any Tylenol. I've got tons of ibuprofen, but I have nothing. If I get a fever, nothing really to reduce a fever. Ibuprofen doesn't really help me in that regard. I have breathing problems. I have asthma. I've got really bad breathing issues. So I've been in an oxygen tent twice, and I've just. So when I get sick, I had walking pneumonia the last 2 years in a row, and the last year it lasted for 2 months straight. Finally, with a double shots of 2 hardcore antibiotics, I finally killed it, but it was tough. So if I get this thing, it probably wouldn't be good. So I went out yesterday. So I'm going to go and see. I'll get some aspirin. I'll get aspirin or Tylenol. I realized I needed more water. I wanted to see if maybe I can get a case of water. I got 1 full case of water, and I have like 5-gallon jugs of distilled water, which I use that typically for coffee and for Vinny's water bowl. I don't use tap water at all. I always use distilled water. So I left at 6 again, went to the same thing, bunch of people there with carts. Now this time they're kind of more spread out. I noticed there's like 6 to 7 feet between everyone, which is good. It's good to be safe. But I could notice there were a couple people who are really kind of irate and very anxious, more so than they were just a couple days before. So I went down the water aisle, nothing. Completely empty, not a single gallon of water, no water bottles, nothing. Plenty of soda, plenty of Coca-Cola and Dr. Pepper and Mountain Dew and all that, and potato chips. But I went to the frozen section. I went again just to look to see if I could find maybe couple of frozen items. I had some meat. I had no meat at all. I found like 2 small Stouffer's meatloaf family. They were kind of much larger than I would have preferred to have bought, but that's all they had. So I bought them. I said, I'll freeze them. At least I can have something. I can make some meatloaf and maybe divide it up and get several meals out of it, mix it up with other things or something. Since the meat's just consistently picked over, which is fine. So I got a couple items, just a few, 5-6 items in my cart. And I went down and quickly went out, and they had 3 checkers, already lines building up. Well, the guy in front of me, an older guy, a little bit older than me, maybe 60, 62 or so, just went off on the cashier in front of me. Really? I don't understand. I was here yesterday. Nothing. You don't have any water or this. You don't have no answers. And he's like yelling at the guy. And you could see the kid was really rattled. He started shaking. And here I got high blood pressure. I'm trying to remain calm and just, keeping my distance but I'm taking it all in. And by the time I left, the poor kid was a mess. He said, sir, there's nothing we can do. We don't know. I don't know the schedule of the trucks, the distributor. They come when they come. I'm sorry. We're doing the best we can. It wasn't good enough for this guy. He just kept driving it into this guy, this poor cashier. He finally left, thank God. I'm just thinking about it. I'm already getting upset, worked up over it. But I went home shaking. And I could see that society is, and I saw this all before the LA riots, when society fell apart. There was nothing, because in LA there's very few grocery stores. When times are good, people pop in, they get a few items, and you wait in line, and you tough it out, and you just get through it. But when times are bad down there, I wouldn't want to live down in LA or Orange County for all the tea in China. It would just not be a good time to be in these big cities. San Francisco is even worse. There's even fewer stores and gas stations there. And it's a very, very concerning time. We have, the last I heard 2 days ago, we had 45 cases of it right here in Sacramento. So it's everywhere. There's not even that many in the whole state of Idaho right now. And God knows how many there are in San Francisco and Los Angeles, Seattle certainly is a big hit part up there. So I'm not saying any of this for fear mongering, but I'm saying that you've got to take it seriously. For people to say that, this is all hogwash, rethink that. You got to keep an open mind. Technically, the flu has killed more people. Right now, as far as I understand it, it's between 1% and 2% fatality rate overall, but yet we don't know that much about it. That could change next week. We don't know. There's a lot of things that are changing. So, I came back here yesterday, and my blood pressure medicine's almost out. I have to go to Costco. Well, Costco's the last place I want to go right now, even though I would like to go through and look at cases of water and all that, but right now they're like rationing stuff, and people are mobbing the Costco's around here. And down in my mother-in-law told me too down there, because we were going to go down and buy my daughter a TV and then take it over to her and put a bow on it. And she goes, oh, no, don't go down. It's packed. It'll take you an hour just to get inside. There's huge lines. You don't want to be around that. We'll just order it online and we'll have it shipped to my house, and I'll have, when she's back from her honeymoon, she can pick it up. And I go, that sounds like a good sound idea, and that's exactly what we did. So the thought of going to Costco, and they have a pharmacy, that's where all my meds are. And I have to go, I have 3 different blood pressure medicines, plus my pain pills. They all come at different times, so whether I like it or not, I have to go. But after the little run-in with this, what I saw that morning, my blood pressure was sky high. And I told Steve, he called and asked how I was doing, and we were going to initially hang out this week, and we probably thought, well, maybe it's not a good idea with everything going on. And he had a game for me, he wanted to give me and stuff. I said, well, I don't know, but I don't feel very good. I'm really upset, I'm going to take it. I'll go Monday and get my blood pressure medicine. He said, well, you shouldn't fuck around with that, dude. He said, what meds do you take? My wife is on blood pressure medicine. Maybe we have some we can give you. I told him the important one I need, he didn't have. So I said, I don't think I can do it, dude. I think I'll go there, and I don't want to have a stroke waiting in line. Or if I see what I saw this morning there, or see anything that's negative like that, it rattles me, and my anxiety gets up. And right now I have to it may take me 2 days to calm down from this, just so I can even go to Costco. So Steve goes, look, I'm going to go out with my wife. We need to get a lot of things for my family that we're out of right now, and I'm going to find you. Oh, by the way, when I went to the grocery store, no Tylenol, no aspirin. All they had were Tylenol PMs, and like 4 of them left. So I bought one of those. So at least it's got Tylenol in it. I got to be careful with sleep aids, because my pain pills, they radically lower my heart rate down, and then to take those on top of that, I could easily die and go into a coma. So I got to be very careful, with what I take with my medication. So I just got the Tylenol PM, and I had 1 box of generic severe cold formula medicine, which helps with my breathing a little bit in case I get stuffed up or whatever. So I'll get that. At least I'll be prepared. So if something happens, I can kind of ride this out at home and kind of keep my fever down, and maybe keep my breathing somewhat open as best I can. That's all I can do. So Steve goes, but I'll get your medicine today. So God love him. He went with his wife. He went to Costco, and he went and he got my meds, and he sent me a text of it. He said, Bud, look, all they have are these giant Econo-sized bottles of Tylenol, but there's like extra strength Tylenol. You want me to get one? They're like almost $19. I said, get one. God bless you, dude. I said, thanks so much. So he bought me a thing of Tylenol, and he got my meds. I gave him my insurance information, sent it to a text, and he went down, and my birth date and everything. He was able to get my blood pressure medicine. God bless him. And came over. He was very kind to drop that off, and then he gave me the Need for Speed, Nitro game for the Wii, which is very nice. And plus, I loaned him my original Xbox memory card, which he brought back. He forgot to bring that back the other day. So thank you, Steve, so much for this, and God bless you for bringing that stuff by with your wife. You had your own family and concerns, and it's very kind that you went out of your way to help another person. Now, Steve is a prime example of the good people that are there to help others and not capitalize on a situation for their own profit and gain or ego. So these are really tough times, and we're going to find out what we're made of as a nation, or my other friends in Canada or the UK or different parts of the world, Germany, whatever. We're all going to see what we're made of as countries, as a people. as a human race by the end of this. And you'll see both. Like I said, I went through the riots and you saw the absolute worst of humanity. You know, I never had a racist bone in my body. I was a very happy-go-lucky, cavalier attitude in my late 20s and 30 years old. And when those LA riots hit, I saw things, when I watched live feed. Back then I was glued to the news. I mean, I don't watch the news. I watch like bits and pieces of it on YouTube, recorded from hours earlier, snippets and stuff, but I don't sit and feed. I have no cable TV. I don't watch any regular TV or the news at all. So I don't even know what's going on half the time unless I'm looking for it. But I was glued to it, and I watched them, bludgeon Reginald Denny, a white truck driver, just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and they pulled him out of his truck, and I watched it live from a helicopter feed as they beat the shit out of him and left him for dead. And later, the guy, being a nice Christian guy, he forgave the people who did it, and he completely had a very good attitude about it. It goes to show you there's two types of people. There's good people and there's bad people. In any situation, you'll see the worst of mankind and you'll see the best of mankind. So anyway, I got my medicines. Then, like the other day, I stocked up on my salads. I got salad pack. I was starting to say the other day in my last video that I promised my wife I was going to leave her as I'm going to start eating healthier. I'm cutting down my portions, drinking more water. And I still haven't got any water. I still don't have. I have one case I'm saving and a few gallons. Now, I do have a refrigerator that has a filtration system in it with cold water. So I have water, but those filters only last so long. You go through them they're like $50 each, are really expensive. In fact, I need to get another one at Lowe's or Home Depot or something, but, excuse me. I'm get a drink real quick. My throat's kind of parched, but. So I got everything I need. I can I want to try to stay indoors for a couple of weeks. The tank is full of gas. Everything's prepared. My home is safe. And I have some other things that happen that change in my situation that are quite costly to me, but thank God it's all going to work out. And I'll get to that in a minute. But getting back to the riots, at the time, back then I didn't prepare. I lived hand to mouth. I didn't have any savings. If someone asked me, what are you doing this weekend? Oh shit, I don't know. I just lived one day at a time. I was very happy-go-lucky. I moved down to LA with $165 in my pocket in an old car with a back window blown out of it. I was almost like a homeless person. I had enough money to prepay for one night at the Sunset Palms Hotel in Hollywood, and I had like $11 left over after I paid for that. And that's what so I went to the Wendy's across the street, and I just loaded up at the salad bar and pocketed a bunch of crackers. And we had to make, my ex-wife and I had to make that last. And luckily, within 2 days, I found a job. And the guy, actually, my boss, really loved me. He let me live in the sign shop, which I stayed there for 18 months, sleeping on a table saw extension with my ex-wife. He even advanced me some money for some food and gave me a place to live in an old 1947 apartment that was made into a little sign business. So I lived there because I've been ripped off 3 times. It'd be nice if I had someone to live here and watch my shit. Would you like to live here rent-free? Plus he paid me, gave me a job, full-time job, and later I worked my way up and became the manager of that place for years. That's a place I worked at the longest, and I love the sign industry and the graphic design business, and did very well there on La Cienega and Venice Boulevard. In fact, right under where the freeway is, we had a billboard right on top of our building that was up hovering over the freeways. And at night, I'd climb up there with a bag of Doritos and a Coke, and I'd sit and just watch the traffic on the 10 freeway and watch the lights twinkle in LA. I was very young and idealistic. I was naive. I didn't realize how dangerous Los Angeles was. I didn't know. I had no idea what was going to happen with the riots. When the riots came, we were living in a little apartment. Oh, wait a minute, no, we had a house on Havelock and off Inglewood Boulevard, which is right on the edge of Inglewood, which is not a good area. We had these big housing projects, Section 8, right at the end of our street. You could hear gunshots and MAC-10s going off almost every night. That was before the riots. During the riots, things got real. The very first night of the riots, we had some gangbangers that were out on our street. They were taking anything that wasn't nailed down. And my wife and I were scared. We were really scared. I'd never been through anything like that. We're glued to the news. Of course, now it's hyping, getting all panicked and worked up. And this cop, which I never wasn't a fan of because I was doing burnouts. I was a kid back then in my late 20s. hot rod or some out getting sideways and doing burnouts. And the neighbor across the street was an LA sheriff. And when he was home and on the weekends, he would come over and he'd read me the Riot Act, threatened to have me locked up and have my cars impounded. So I was like, so I didn't like the guy at all, but I didn't hate him. I just didn't like him. Kind of like Mickey Rourke said in the movie Barfly. The guy goes, "Don't you hate cops?" And he goes, "No, I don't hate them, but I certainly feel better when they're not around, you know." But anyway, so the poor guy and his wife, he had a wife and he had a little girl. Well, he likes to go out and kind of police the neighborhood. He sees someone out there doing burnouts or someone out there drinking late at night, walking too loud, he'll go out, "Hey, keep that shit down, take that somewhere else," that kind of thing. Got his flashlight like a cop, and he's got his gun and everything. He's kind of a big macho guy, but I didn't really care for the guy very much. But he went up and I heard him yelling at these gangbangers and their Monte Carlos and stuff out there, and I go, "Oh God, dude, don't start any trouble, don't create any problems," because I know how I've heard the gunshots and the machine guns and stuff. So what these guys did, they came back later that night. They went by his house, slowed down to about 5 miles an hour, and they unloaded about 20 rounds through his front window with him and his wife. They're watching TV. Luckily, I saw the mini blinds all chewed up, bullet holes all through the stucco, all the glass had was blown out. Amazingly, him and his wife were there watching TV and not one round hit them. Then they went around the block and they hit it again with another few rounds and then took off. And my wife and I were just shaking. I was on the floor watching TV, laying on the floor. I was afraid that someone was going to shoot us next, I was a kid, I didn't know. And I had a good friend named Ozzy. His name was Mike Osborne. We call him Ozzy. He had long, straight hair. He looked like Ozzy Osbourne. And he eventually got me a job at Gulfstream Engineering, where he worked as their chief engine builder there. He got me in there detailing cars and, as a driver, where I would run errands and pick up parts and deliver customers' cars. I got to deliver Schwarzenegger's Hummer to his place up in Brentwood. Charlie Sheen's 600 horsepower, NASCAR motor Mustang we worked on. So I saw a lot of celebrities in and out of there. But anyway, before that, Mike was a real macho, tough guy. He had Harleys and hot rods and 44 Magnum. He had a lot of handguns. And he wasn't afraid of the shit. "I hope they start some shit in my front yard. I'll fucking waste those motherfuckers." I'm like, "Jesus, dude, take it easy, take a Valium." So, but I'll tell you, when the shit hit the fan, you know who I gravitated towards? My good buddy Ozzy. And at night, I called him. I said, "Mike, what are you doing?" He said, "Come over here, kid. You'll be fine." He had a real rough Marlboro voice from smoking 4.5 packs a day. So I went over there with my ex-wife, and we hung out. We stayed with him and his wife Jane, and watched the news that night. I'll never forget how scared. It was tough. And we had to get up and go to work and function. I had to put my wife, had to go to work and function. So seeing this kind of stuff, and then not having anything to eat, you go to the grocery store, and I would go with Mike. I said, "You guys going down to the Bonds?" And, "Yeah, kid, come this Saturday. I'll take you, come with us." He put his 44 right on the dash of his car, of his Ford. And I felt safe with Mike. So I spent a lot of time with him through this whole deal. That's when we saw the National Guard with the M4s. And we watched them. They burned Hollywood to the ground. We saw them burning their own city to the ground. A lot of the Orientals, store owners in LA were up on their little rooftops and their front awnings, above their awnings with their rifles, scared, just trying to protect their little businesses that they were barely making it, And I saw looting and violence in the streets and yelling and screaming and just people just destroying themselves, their own property. The bad neighborhoods burned their own neighborhoods and the grocery stores to the ground. So you know what they did? They came to our neighborhoods in West LA. And I had to go there. That's why we had the military, the National Guard were there with fully locked and loaded. And it was tough. It was a tough thing. We remember seeing cops that just, like I said, they're going, 40, 50, 60 miles an hour, just screaming by, in Caprice Classics. And back then they had, Chevy sedans. and you could see at a glimpse their faces and that they had this deer in the headlights, like fear, frozen, and you couldn't stop them. And there's another story about that with the LA riots, because we tried to stop them. They were scared then too. But it was, I've been through and I've seen the worst of the worst, and I survived it. I came out the other end. I'm fine, you know, and I didn't get shot. My wife didn't get shot. We're fine. Life goes on. You know, my friend Mike and his wife Jane were fine, and we all survived. But you know, back then we didn't stay home from work. We had to go to work, so I was terrified. I was scared shitless, and I didn't always have Mike to protect me. I had to drive and go to work. I had to drive 4 miles across town with all this shit going on, watching violence and people smashing in windows of cars, and I just want to go to work so I can make money. So I got, you know, rent and food and stuff. So I lived in a kind of a shitty part of town. That's all I could afford back then. I was lucky to have that house. We rented out one room out of a house for a lot of money, but that's all I could find. And a little bit later, we got through it, and then we had the LA earthquake, which came. By then, I had my own apartment in El Segundo. We had a 1946 or 45, kind of a World War II era apartment. It was really old, right overlooking LAX off Imperial Highway. You could actually see LAX. You couldn't hear shit. You had to record Miami Vice on Friday nights and then watch it the next day, because with the planes taking off Friday nights, you couldn't hear nothing. It would just shake the whole house and just an enormous sound. So you get used to it, you know. But so I always had to find like shitty places to live, because that's all I could afford. LA is expensive. But as a kid, at least I was making it. At least I had my own place. You know, my ex-wife and I were surviving. But all of a sudden, we were woken up with the worst earthquake. It just shook. I mean, it's like it just something like someone like dropped the whole apartment complex like 100 feet and then stopped, and that's what it felt like. And instantly, we got up. I got my wife up. We were sleeping on the floor. We didn't even have a bed. I had a little TV on an milk crate, little 19-inch TV, and we had a futon and a coffee table. And that's it. That's all we had for furniture. We had like no furniture. You know, we had a little VHX collection, a little VCR, and a little TV, and that's it. A little JVC 19-inch color TV I had. And every single window and door frame had huge cracks coming off. And that place was actually deemed unsafe, and we had to move out. The next week it was condemned. We had to move out. It was unsafe to live there. Luckily, our place didn't collapse. We were far enough away from the epicenter up in Granada Hills. Well, I was young back then. You know, I was kind of an adventure seeker, and my other friend who lived right up near the 405 and Washington Boulevard had an apartment right next to the freeway. The place was loud too. Couldn't hear shit. And he had a 70 Chevelle convertible. He was a hot rodder. We both had nice, you know, hot rods and cars. And he goes, "Hey, Dean, you want to check out all the carnage?" He was from Texas, had this kind of Texas accent. Called me up. "Yeah, it sounds fun. My wife just wants to stay home, watch TV, and I want to get out of here. You know, I'm sick of being at home and scared." The place, we had aftershocks all day, shaking the place. I mean, violent aftershocks, and you're just scared shitless. You don't know if you're going to die. You don't know if this is the beginning of something massive, or tidal wave's going to hit. We're right by the ocean. I mean, you don't know what's coming. You have no idea. And when you're young, you're kind of dumb, and you know, you're just happy-go-lucky, and part of you is kind of too stupid to realize how dangerous everything is, and there's a part of it that really scares the shit out of you. But I couldn't take being in that place just with the shaking all day, you know. We didn't go to work that day. We stayed home, and I don't even know if it was on a weekend. I remember I didn't work that day. I don't know if it was on a day we took off or it was on a weekend. I can't remember. But that night, we went out, and I saw everything on news. I saw all the apartments up in the San Fernando Valley on Ventura Boulevard that had collapsed. They were like apartments built over the bottom floors, like all your underground parking. These apartments collapsed, and just all those cars were crushed. The 10 freeway over, was it Jefferson, La Cienega, I can't remember, over one of the main boulevards, it collapsed, completely collapsed. And I'm seeing all this like surreal shit freeways I'm on every day, streets just right down the street from where I live. And I'm seeing all this destruction. And I'm just curious. I had never seen anything like it. I mean, I'd been through a couple of earthquakes when I lived up in Fresno, the one out in Coalinga, the Coalinga earthquake. That was massive. That was pretty scary. We had another one up in San Francisco, you know, back in the early 90s. That one was pretty intense, or around 89 or so in there. That was pretty intense, and the freeways collapsed for miles up there. That was a mess, terrifying. But luckily I was nowhere near that one. But this was an intense earthquake with strong, and I mean strong aftershocks all day long. You could drive down the street and you could see the whole road rippling like it was water, looking like miles down towards the distance, and huge power poles swaying and all the glass just going in and out. I mean, it's one of those things you have to experience it to fully appreciate how intense it is and how it makes you feel like an ant. I mean, you feel insignificant, like you could die. Like this is so beyond your control. So we drove up there. We went up to Hollywood. We saw a lot of destruction up in Hollywood, a lot of older buildings and apartments. And my friend goes, "Let's go to the valley. Let's go right up to the epicenter. Check it out." Now they had a curfew. They shut the 10 freeway down. I had a friend that had a '69 Camaro that was out doing donuts. Today it would be on YouTube, but back then we didn't have stuff like that. He was out doing donuts on the completely deserted 10 freeway. I remember seeing his marks for like 6 weeks afterwards on the 10 freeway. And it was like a giant playground. And the cops back then, this is where I really saw the fear of the cops, because the fire department and the police department were just overworked. They didn't know what to do. They were just maxed out. Well, the valley was like blacked out. It was eerie. Just driving down the streets, just pitch black. And typically you'd see all these lights, the street lights, the storefronts. It's just black and quiet and very few cars on the street. And it's dark and you look closely, what the fuck? And then we saw all the apartments that had collapsed with them. You could see what was left of the cars just crushed like pancakes. And I'm like, oh my God. And it got worse and worse as you got closer up to Canoga Park, and then eventually we went all the way to Granada Hills. And there was debris in the roads everywhere. Chunks of concrete and just shit. And then there was like fire hydrants that the fire trucks had been there that day, and they still had hoses attached to them. It was all kinds of just crazy debris. It was like chaos. And we went up across this window. It was pitch black. You can't see where you're going. It's got these old, regular headlights where you're real dim. You can't see shit. Well, he had a nice lowered 70 Chevelle convertible, and he ran over a giant fire coupling hose that was right in the middle of the street because we couldn't see. And we heard this big, and it's like something dragged, and we heard a loud clank, and it tore open a hole in his oil pan because he had the thing so low. And all the oil dumped out. His oil warning light came on the dash, and they said, "Dude, pull it over. This thing's done. You fucked up your oil pan. Pull it over. Now we're done." The car was stuck. Dude, this is before cell phones. You had no cell phones back then. You want to call help, you got to find someone that will let you in their house to use their phone, or you got to find a gas station where they'll let you use a phone, or you got to find like a payphone. We found a payphone. We walked for 2 miles until we found a business area up in Granada. Now we're in Granada Hills, and you can just watch the roads look like the ocean, just rippling all night long. Just one aftershock, just all the windows are shaking in and out. Eventually, you'd see one just blow right out of a huge, bakery front or a storefront or something. And it was intense. I started getting scared then. And this is when we started seeing cops flying by and fire trucks and stuff. And we were trying to wave them down. We needed help. I want to get the hell out of there. And no one would stop. You could see that, just like during the riots, you saw the same deer in the headlights fear in these cops' faces. And no one would stop. Eventually, we finally found a tow truck. It cost us hundreds of dollars. And they finally came up and got us out of there. But we were there all night. That's what we got for going out sightseeing when we should have stayed home like we were told. But we were young and dumb, stupid, back then. But anyway, that's kind of just a little micro story about, and there were many other stories. I had a girl that lived up in Encino, a good friend of mine that was a gal that I knew from Fresno. I was best friends with her brother. Her last name was Thompson too, unrelated. And she lived in an apartment in Encino, a really nice studio apartment with vaulted ceilings, and had a really nice apartment there. I remember seeing it once. Her TV set, the violence of the earthquake was so bad, her 19-inch TV went up like 10 feet up to the vaulted angled ceiling and put a dent in the drywall, and then came back down and smashed. I mean, everything in her bed, her bookcase, everything was just destroyed. That place was condemned. Most of those apartments in the San Fernando Valley were condemned for some time until they were retrofitted and refitted with new construction. A lot of the patios were like hanging off and ready to fall. I mean, it was just unsafe to be in those places. She was terrified. She moved immediately back to Fresno the next day. She left her shit there and just left. She was so scared. And I remember she told me on the phone about the dents in her ceiling from the TV set hitting them. That's how violent that earthquake was. Again, you had to be there and see it. Right after that happened, they condemned our place. My ex-wife and I, we moved to Orange County. It's still part of the LA basin. Still, you're going to have the same earthquakes there. We felt safer because wasn't so. LA's like built up on top of itself, and there things are more spread out. There's more boulevards and a little bit more room, and it felt a little bit safer. The police departments were a little bit more on top of things there compared to Los Angeles, and it was a nicer place. It was expensive, but we moved down there to around Dana Point. Really nice by the marina down there. Got a nice apartment, like $795 a month with beach access. That apartment today is like $3,200 a month or more. The last I checked, 10 years ago, it was like $3,200 a month. Back then, you could afford to live in LA. You could afford to live down by the beach, but that's another story. But that's just a couple of quick stories about how I've seen civilization fall apart under hard times. And so that's why I'm coming full circle back to this. And because I've seen that, and so when I start to see things unravel, I start to get like panic attacks, And I'm someone who's very rational. I try to be calm and try to see the bigger picture all the time. And I let people in if they want to come in. I try to, if someone wants to get something on the show, like the lady with the hamburger, I could have ran and grabbed it first. I let her take it. I don't fight over things. Just I'm calm. I'd rather try to be a peacemaker and be calm and be rational. And that's what saves you in these situations. They'll say in like the military, it's your training, it's what you've learned. Your training is what's going to save you. So when you get bullets flying over your head and explosions and mines going off, that when you have to move and advance, if you are frozen with fear and immobilized, you're probably going to die. But if you stay calm and collective and you remember your training and remember the things that will save your life, and you take a breath and you focus on that, and just it helps. You still grip with fear, but you're at least not immobilized, and you're able to function and make rational decisions. And if we can all do that as a people, we'll get through this. Now, some of you might be in areas where it's not even that big of a deal. I was out in a restaurant yesterday. It's not a big thing there, and it was like that here just a week ago. There were people in restaurants and GameStop. I was just at the GameStop the other day, but like I said, even at the GameStop, those guys were on edge. They were, and then since then, I came home and made that video. That same day while I was editing and rendering that, I had watched several videos about GameStop employees were uncomfortable, unhappy. They don't like this. GameStop wants them to give an edict to the police. So if they say to shut the doors, oh, no, here, can't do it, read this instead. And putting the employees at risk. They're not giving them any hand sanitizers or cleaning items. They're taking in, by the way, I took disinfectant wipes and I wiped down this game and everything that Steve gave me, but inside and out. So this is completely sterile and clean now. But I mean, you don't know where these things have been. They're going to sit and take trade-ins all day and handle this stuff and talk to kids. And I mean, it's crazy. You don't know. These kids, a lot of them, they're out in spring break in Miami. The beaches are full. There's no safe distancing there. They're drinking beers and fucking and fighting and having fun. It's just a big joke to them. But it's not a big joke. If you're up at my age, this could kill you. And it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. I may have it already, and maybe I don't even know it yet. From going to the store the other day, who knows? I don't know. Or maybe from being on the airplane, it hasn't. I mean, I got 14 days. It's not 14 days since I took that flight. It could be in me right now, and all of a sudden tonight I could come down with a fever, and all of a sudden I can't breathe, and I'm done. Or I can hope that maybe they'll put me in an oxygen tent if there is one available. I don't know. Right now Sacramento's hit hard, and other parts of California hit even worse. And it's just starting. You give it another. It's growing now. There's 300 and something thousand cases of it. I mean, just each day it goes from 200,000. Now we're at 3, just like a couple days later, and it's going to start accelerating up. But because we can slow this thing down enough, we can like I said, flatten out the curve, and we can try to. I watched the president's hour and a half thing. I rarely watch those. I took the time last night and watched it. It was pre-recorded, but it was informative, And he did his best to try to put the nation at ease. And look, we're working on it. This is what we're doing. These are proactive steps we're taking. They had the head of the CDC and FEMA and other people that were talking, and they did their best to try to give solid information and facts and to keep people calm. The media wants to keep it all, just keep pouring gas on the fire and keep it all fueled up. But these are tough times, and we're going to get through it together. I wish I was with my wife. I'm so happy she's there. I'm so thankful she's there, She's in a safer place. I'd give anything to get there. Anyway, one of the things she said, she had a friend in the UK that had some, some little tidbits on what you can do to prevent this from getting you, what you can do to kind of stay safe. You got to be careful of like gas pumps, elevator buttons, handles, anything like cold, hard surfaces, or like breeding grounds fulminating with this stuff. This is an invisible enemy that can kill you. You don't want to fuck with this. It's no joke. So I've been washing my hands. Like I went and got groceries before I even unloaded them. I come in and wash my hands. I unload the groceries, wash my hands. I take disinfectant wipes, wipe down my steering wheel, console, door handles inside and out. The car is disinfected. We have 3 big things of wipes. I got tons of. These are things we thought months ago we always have. We stock up on all this stuff. So thank God we did, because otherwise I'd be fucked. So you got to be careful what you touch. Now, if you go to the gas station, take a roll of paper towels with you. Use a paper towel to use it and then throw it away when you're done. Even when you hit the buttons on the gas pump, put your credit card in, use a paper towel, hit with a paper towel with the buttons and stuff. Be very, very careful. It thrives on cooler areas. Like I've been drinking a lot of tea at night. You want to flush. What it does, it goes to the inside of your mouth and throat, and it kind of lingers there for days. And then eventually it goes down into the lungs, and then it creates a lung problem, and you start getting fluid in your lungs, and that's the beginning of the end. I don't need that. I've been there a few times, walking pneumonia and bronchitis. It's just not a good place to be. So you want to keep it by washing, keep your teeth brushed, rinse your mouth, gargle with warm water, salt water, with vinegar, like apple cider vinegar, with lemon juice and hot water. Just gargle, rinse it down all the time. Drink lots of hot fluids. And what it does is it washes it down into your intestines, your digestive system, where the acids can kill it, so that way it doesn't get down into your lungs. So we can do this. There's things you can do, and there's much more you can read online about how you can take precautions. But I would take this seriously. I wouldn't fuck with it. Think of your families. Think of your friends. Do what's right. I've seen so many kids just like licking toilets on Tic Tac and doing crazy shit, like laughing about it, And it's nothing to joke with. If we get through this, we use clear heads prevail, and we get through this by just being calm and making wise choices. And people staying at home right now, and the kids staying out of school. That's good. The schools can be a breeding ground for this. Little kids having fun. They don't care. They're not going to listen. They're going to touch things and do things and go at their face and lick their fingers and after they pick something up off the floor. I mean, that's what they do. When I was a kid, that's what we did. But when I was a kid, I remember people were still getting over polio. My father lost his little brother, and my mother both lost both of their little brothers from polio. They're there at the dinner table with them one night, and a couple weeks later, they're dead. This country's been through 1957. We had another epidemic that hit us hard. This country's been through a lot, and we've come out the other end. Sometimes it takes a lot of lives. That's the reality of it. Just like a war does. It's horrible. This is a war with an invisible enemy, and you've got to be prepared. You've got to really think and keep your head clear. Don't make 3 trips a week to the store. I've been doing 1 trip a week to the store. Try to do all my errands at once. When I have to go to Costco to get my other meds, I'll go to the gas pumps first, I'll keep my car full of gas for an emergency if I have to exit and get out of town. I got plenty of gas to get the hell out of here. And then I'll go into Costco, get my meds, maybe get some bottled water, handle everything. Get home, take your clothes off. Wipe down everything you've touched. You don't want to come home and have your clothes, you've been leaning on the counters at the checker at the grocery store with God knows what. Take that shirt off, wash your clothes, take showers when you get back from going out. I've gone to extremes. I wash my hands, I can't even count how many times a day. Use like a good foaming, hand washing stuff. And I could do like a surgeon. I wash over every finger and between them and the backs of my hands and rinse them thoroughly. And you take your time and do it right and just prepare, you can get through this. So we can game, we can live and continue with our dreams. Excuse me, I'm getting a little congested this morning. I was up half the night, worried about my wife and worried about this. And on a side note, just as another byproduct of this whole thing, which is going to cost us a lot of money, but it's okay. We had a buyer that was in escrow, approved. He paid us like $10,000 over the house's worth. We're very excited. Well, he pulled out because of fears of this virus thing, and a lot of people are doing that right now. They're pulling out, and now there's no more open houses. They just passed a rule, or a law yesterday, where there'll be no more real estate agents taking people through homes. So all of a sudden our home is not for sale. Meanwhile, we're locked in. We've already put a non-refundable deposit down in this brand new house. But the beauty is my wife is a backup. I thought it was a month, but actually reading the fine print, it's 120 days. After 120 days, if our house doesn't sell, then they will buy the property. So in the end, we're guaranteed. The problem is where we have a 60-day escrow on the new house. And every day after that, we have a non-refundable $100 a day fee that we pay to the custom home builder. So do the math. In a couple months of $100 a day, it's thousands. So my wife was really upset. She called me and she said, I don't know what we're going to do. The buyer pulled it. I said, it's okay. Patty, we were a good real estate agent. She's not making as much money in the house this time as when we sold it because this reload package, they're controlling the whole real estate thing, and she's kind of working for them now. So her commission's cut in half, but she's still doing her best to try to help us through it. And she says, don't worry, Dean, I'm going to reach out to all the other people that were interested. Well, a lot of them are already found homes. They're already locked in, or they right now they're decided not because of the virus. So Patty goes, I've already called them, the other 3 people, and yeah, they either bought homes. And I had a couple of real estate agents. I even sent them a text that wanted to come by, and I said, it's pending, I'm sorry. Someone texted, by the way, our place is open if you still want to buy it. Oh, thanks anyway, my client already found a house, whatever. But I did my best to put it out there. Patty, my real estate agent, did her best. And my wife was scared. I said, it's okay. We'll get the house. It's going to cost us, 10, 12 grand more out of our pocket, but it'll be okay. I'll be here longer, which I don't like, but it's okay. Vinny's okay. We'll get through this. We get plenty of money to ride this out. Just take it easy. It's going to work out. So I'm trying to calm her down. Meanwhile, I'm getting worked up, Well, just yesterday, Patty calls us up and goes, hey, there's a customer that I had, one of the clients that wanted to buy the house. This was the couple I met, a really nice little Hispanic couple. He had an automotive business in San Francisco, did pretty well. He had like 75, grand in the bank. He'd lovingly saved up. They weren't rich by any means, but they had a small amount of money they could put down. They had good credit, qualified. They really want to get out of San Francisco and come to Sacramento. They loved the house. The real estate agent showed them the house not once but twice. The first time I was gone because it was an open house, I wasn't here. But the other time, it was after the open house was done. Agent says, Dean, can I bring my client by again? They really they wanted to see it one more time. And we realized the open house is, could we show them? I said, no, bring them over, I'd be happy. But so I go outside, a little bistro set outside, I sit outside and let them come through, and then that way they can kind of talk and they don't have me hanging over their head like impending doom, Real estate agent came out, and the couple was still in there, and she comes and whispers to me, they love the house. They want it bad. They love exactly the way you painted it. They don't want to change a thing. They want this house. They came out, they shook my hand and said, Dean, we love what you've done in this house. We couldn't have did the colors, everything, we just love it. We really want this house. You will be definitely hearing from us. And I said, oh, that sounds wonderful. I worked hard on it. I'm glad you appreciate it. I love the garage, love everything. That I did all the painting and everything I did. They really liked it. So it's nice, because a lot of people come in here, I don't like this, I'm going to paint it all gray, I don't like these earth colors. I heard a lot of nasty comments, because our taste, we're older boomers, so our taste is a little different, but that's fine. We like more of that older, Tuscany look still, even though it's considered dated or whatever. But we like it cozy and comfy, but we like what we like, I don't change with the times and trends by any means. But these people loved it the way it was, and they really just went out of their way to let me know how much they appreciated the care I took in the house and upgrading the house. And so I wanted to see them get it. I was shocked when they didn't come through. Well, Patty said, well, yeah, they couldn't compete with the other offers, so they were out of the running, because she's just a cold, hard businesswoman. That's how she looks at it all. So I felt bad. Well, anyway, when they called up yesterday, my wife goes, yeah, Patty says this older couple, they said they had talked with you, their name was Bustelo or something. I go, oh yeah, Carlos, yeah, they're a wonderful couple, really nice couple. Well, they want the house. They offered, now they offered us $100 more than what we were asking, so it wasn't certainly $10,000 over, but they said, right now you cannot get, there are no home inspections. You can't even get an inspection. So right now, the odds of your deal going through on if you want to sell your house, good luck. I mean, it's almost impossible. They said, look, we don't care. We'll waive the home inspection. We'll take the place as is, but we want you to pay the closing costs, which are about $5,500. Furthermore, we want you to pay, to compensate for not having the home inspection, we want to have you, we'll split the cost of having a, what do they call it, a home warranty for a year. Would you do that for us? And we'd also, we know it's an option. We'd like you to throw in all the appliances that you had talked about having available. My wife called up, I don't know, do you think we should try to see if they can pay more? I said, no, sweetie, please. These are nice people. Give them what they want. Give them the appliances. I'll eat the $5,500. We'll eat the cost of the home inspection. We'll lose the other $10,000 we weren't going to make on it. So I mean, it's costing us probably close to $17,000 we lost like that because of this virus. But it's okay. We'll get through. We have plenty of money. We'll get through it. And it makes me feel good that the couple I wanted to have this house, that it really appreciates all the hard work I put into it, loves it the way it is. They'll keep it the way it is. I have plenty of extra paint. I'm going to mark on the tops of all the cans what each paint is for each room, and I'm going to make a master list of what all the paint colors are from Dunn Edwards and the paint numbers. If they need to reorder touch-up paint, they can. So I'm going to leave them in everything very nice, neat. I'm going to clean this place when we move out, so it's real nice, and so they have a nice, clean house to move into. I really am so happy they're moving the house. It was a miracle. It was literally an act of God, because and then the very next day, starting today, no more real estate agents, no more home inspections. So shit's getting real. This is affecting the economy in a giant way. And not only that, so now we're like a week or so behind our escrow. We'll still be 2 weeks before the 60-day deadline, so at least we won't have to pay $100 a day. But it was a big chunk. We lost about $17,000 like that overnight because of this virus. So believe me, we're all hit from the virus from different ways. I'm unemployed. We have very limited money, and it's like depleting down fast. And who knows? We have the movers slated to come in a few weeks. Now we have to push the movers back. Who knows if by then if they're going to have a law where they're not going to allow movers to go in someone's house? I don't know. I mean, I told Laura, it's okay. We'll leave our furniture. We'll leave it behind. We'll get new furniture. We have the money to ride this out. It's okay. We'll work through it somehow, and we will. You've got to keep your head calm and clear. My wife is high-strung like I am, so the two of us together, we can get each other worked up. That's when we have these just nuclear fusion sessions. When we've kind of broken through the sound barrier, the SR-71 sound barrier to where it's nice and smooth sailing now. But it was a lot of ripple effects and rough turbulent air we had to get through over the years to get to that point. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this thing up, but I wanted to just share these things with you. If it helps a few of you, it's worth it. It's worth every bit of it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. Please stay safe. Think of your loved ones. Be calm. Play some games. Buy some digital games online if you can, and just enjoy what you have and who you have around you, and make the best of this. And we'll all come through it together and come out the other side and be better for it. And we'll learn something about ourselves and humanity and mankind in the process. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and God bless.